Hi, Gerard Kelly here from the Blessed Network, and we've been thinking a lot lately about the core values of what we do, trying to really define what brings together all our different activities. We're planting churches, we're training people, we're working with the refugee community in Caen. We have a range of different projects, and we've been trying to identify the four things that really bring those things together. And we're doing that through four biblical symbols or images: the tent, the table, the treasure and the towel. These are four very strong images in Scripture that help us to establish our core purposes, our core values, the things that are really, really important to us. The tent is about worship, the tabernacle. When the tabernacle is created in the time of the Exodus, chapter 26 onwards, there's loads of material. In fact, 2/3 of the book of Exodus is about how to worship. And it's about establishing at the centre of this newly liberated people a place where they can experience the presence of God. Walter Brueggemann talks about remembering who we are by remembering whose we are. It's about a place where we come into the presence of God in order to be clear on who He is and who we are. And we see worship very much at the heart of what we do, creating opportunities for people to be in the presence of God, to know the presence of God, and to take action out of that place of presence. None of our doing means anything unless our being is anchored in the presence of God. The table we talk about is about community. We talk about the table because we believe that God calls us into community, and He invites others to come and be part of a real community. The Scriptures say that God places the lonely in families. God brings people not into a kind of terrible, cold individualism, but to be part of community. And He teaches us through one another. And we believe in the table as a symbol of that. In fact, when we first planted the church in France, one of our principles was, as often as you meet together, eat together. We have meals, we share meals, we invite people to the meal table. As a way that they might know that they are welcomed and loved and accepted even before they begin to engage with the material that we have for them or the content in any way. The table is a symbol of the community that God invites us to. The treasure we take as a symbol of the kingdom. In Matthew 13, Jesus has this wonderful story about a man finding hidden treasure in a field, and he rushes out, sells everything he owns to buy the field so that he can dig up the treasure. It's a picture of being intentional and purposeful about pursuing the kingdom. And we feel called to really pursue the kingdom in every part of life and culture, but also in every person. We believe that the treasures of the kingdom are buried in people. And it takes a real committed, lifelong effort to pursue that, to discover more of the kingdom in ourselves, more of the treasure in ourselves that God has placed there, and to see more of the treasure that He has placed in others. And then the fourth area that really draws us, we use the symbol of the towel. John 13, this remarkable evening where Jesus washes the feet of His disciples and dries them. And the towel is a symbol of service. It's about meeting God in the service of others, in the service of the poor. And we sense a strong calling for that to be part of what we do, serving the poor, reaching out to others, and taking acts of service that are completely unconditional. You don't wash someone's feet because you want something from them. You do it as an act of honour and dignity. And we're seeking to find our place in serving others. The interesting thing about these four images for us is that there are four invitations. There are four ways in which God invites us to know Him in the earth. He invites us into His presence. He invites us to have lives which are soaked in His presence. He invites us to establish that His presence and our being in His presence is the centre of everything. We are those who are called to be in the presence of God before we are called to do anything for Him. He invites us into community. He invites us to His table. He invites others to come and be part of community. There's a strong invitation right through Scripture to be part of community. He invites us to pursue the kingdom. He invites us to learn more about ourselves, to discover our gifts, to press into all that He has for the earth. And He invites us to service. He invites us, as Mother Teresa always said, to meet Him in the place where the poor are, to meet Him in the faces of those in need, to meet Him through service. So there are four invitations to meet God in different ways. There are also 4 purposes. There are 4 things that we can do. We can create spaces where the presence of God is real for people to experience. We can create tables where we invite people into community. We can create community for them. We can create opportunities for people to learn and grow and discover the treasures of the kingdom. And we can create opportunities to serve. These are things that we do. They are our purposes. But then lastly, these 4 things are also 4 core values, because there is a value in this, in the sense that there is no point in seeking to create spaces for other people to know the presence of God unless I choose to give myself to the pursuit of his presence. Unless it is one of my core values to pursue his presence above all else, then I won't invite anybody else into it. So before it's an activity or a purpose, it's a value that I have. I choose to give myself to the pursuit of the presence of God. The table is a value. I choose to accept others as they are. I choose to fellowship with others. I choose to give myself to community. I place community as a high value in my life. I choose community above isolation. And the treasure is a value because it's a choice I make to pursue the fullness of God in my own life. I want to be committed to finding God's gifts in others. I want to be committed to helping others to find the treasures of the kingdom. But in order for that commitment to be real, I need to have the value of pursuing in my own life all that God has for me. And service clearly is also a value. I choose to give myself to loving and serving others. I accept that there will be times when my service of others has no ulterior motive, doesn't have any productivity measurement, doesn't produce anything. It is simply because I am called by a God of love to love others. So our values are that we give ourselves to the presence, we give ourselves to community, we give ourselves to learning and growing and becoming the best that we can be in God, and we give ourselves to loving and serving others. So the 4 together create the kind of parameters of who we are. And we're so glad that you're able to be part of this, whether you're local to us here in France or connecting with us from further afield. And we love this journey, and we invite you to stay with us on this journey of discovering more of what it means to live in these 4 core values of the tent, the table, the treasure, and the tower.